It is episode 5, y'all. Welcome to the Good Word Podcast with Goodwill. I'm your host, Vincent Goodwill on Yahoo Sports. That lovely face that you are looking at across the way, the one and only Monica McNutt. Monica of ESPN, MSG, a bunch of other enterprises. Like, you got more jobs than Stephen A. Smith at this point.
Listen, I'm just excited that I made your starting five. Like, I round out the starting five. I'm not coming off the bench, baby, where I belong. Vinny, I'm so happy for you. Yes, come on, let's get the good word with the Goodwill.
See, look, there were two women that I wanted to get on my podcast in the first month. It was you and someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like in the top tier. You know, like there's MVP finalists. You were like one of the 3 people I initially just wanted to get on. And I was like, Monica is doing something. Monica is traveling. Monica's doing the women's final four. I can't do it. I can't get her this week because she's on TV. Like I wouldn't even go bother you until I knew that you were stationary for a day or so. So, you know, it is an honor to have you.
I appreciate the timing and the consideration, and I'm excited because game 1 got these people out here tripping a little bit, Vinny. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack from game 1s, but let's go.
Look, you tell me where you want to start. We can start with your New York Knicks. We can start with the Memphis Grizzlies and the Lakers, or we can start where I am, Phoenix and the Clippers. I am in Phoenix with the Clippers and the Suns and Russell Westbrook throwing up a brick fest that John Starks could love, and then running in, like, you know, the clubs in the background and telling people, you know, pulling the Will Smith to keep my name out your, you know, keep my name out your mouth, all that stuff. Like that, Monica, was an amazing, that was the best bad game I've ever seen a player play with Russell Westbrook
100%.
last night.
100%. Although I got to say, while LeBron's stat line is, you know, whatever, you would look at the stats and be like, oh, cool. That wasn't a great game from Bron either.
No.
Russ takes the cake on bad game that mattered most down the stretch, for sure. I'm glad we're starting here because I have been vacillating with myself over my ideology and philosophies when it comes to basketball and reluctantly landing on the Phoenix Suns to come out of the West because I don't think anybody is head and shoulders above anybody. But then I watched that game and I said, girl, you know better. You have to acknowledge the importance of defense. In particular, what we've seen at this stage of his career. And I love KD, greatest, all that good stuff, never will knock his accomplishments.
Hot take coming. I feel a hot take coming.
I mean, it's not super hot, but yesterday gave me shades of what we saw the Celtics do to him as a net. Just in terms of the Clippers have personnel that are willing to be physical and bothersome, in particular, Kawhi Leonard, right? Now, I'm not ready to run away with the Clippers going to take this series. I have learned, shout out to Coach Carlissimo, who kept saying it last year all during the finals. He's like, series are long, adjustments come. But I was really like, ooh, wait a minute. Because I struggle with the idea of skipping the process, right? KD, they've only played 8 games together. He arrived late. I had rationalized to myself that it's not the same because they've been Olympic teammates. And at this stage of their career, they all understand what it takes to win. But I don't know. For as much as I think the Clippers were up and down during the course of the regular season, if we were to look, if the idea is that all these teams have the caliber of leader that can flip this so-called switch, at least the veteran teams, right?
Right.
Seeds, not Sacramento, 4 down, right? Then which roster seems to be most complete and has been able to play the most? You kind of go to the Clippers by default.
And we would never say that.
Flip a switch,
we would never say that about the Clippers in this iteration of, hey, sweat equity. You don't think of sweat equity when you think of a Kawhi Leonard team at this stage of his career, right?
I mean, and yes, the Paul George thing is a loss, but like, I don't know, Vinny. This series has me like, ooh, what is about to happen here?
I thought, Monica, they asked, what series do you want to go to? I'm like, oh, clearly, A, whatever series Kevin Durant is in early, right? And B, once I saw that it was going to lay out this way, I was like, Suns, Clippers. Like, for those who don't remember, we're going to back it up for a second. 2017, KD went to Golden State. Kawhi was in San Antonio. They met in the conference finals. Kawhi was on a one-man wrecking crew destruction until Jaja Pachulia, you know, shot his foot under KD's leg, under Kawhi's leg, right?
Yeah.
Missed the rest of the series. They were up 23. Kawhi was doing it by himself. Missed the rest of the series. That was basically the end of Kawhi as the San Antonio Spurs, right? All right, cool.
Yeah.
2019, Raptors, Warriors, finals. Monica, the
Mm-hmm.
one time I got excited during that series was the first 4 or 5 minutes, the first quarter of game 5. KD comes back from that calf injury, is hitting everything. I'm like, oh, he's going to come back in his swan song, and he's going to take this series from Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors. Boom, to his Achilles. All the air comes out of it. Now we get these two dudes at this stage where both teams are equally desperate. And I think that's what you saw last night, Monica. You saw the desperation from the Clippers, the desperation from Russell Westbrook. And I'll tell you this, and I love Monty Williams as a coach. I'm not going to go and say anything crazy, but I think an adjustment he has to make is KD didn't touch the ball at all in the last 5 minutes. I don't know how much of that is on KD because he played facilitator early, but he touched the ball one time, hit a corner 3, hit a wing 3, put him down 3, and I'm like, okay, he's about to take over this game. Monica, he didn't touch the ball the rest of the way.
So I didn't realize that he didn't touch it till we woke up this morning and all you smart people pointed that out, because I actually felt like there's a couple times he made the right pass to Ayton.
Yep.
He hit Landell, I think, one time. And so, I wasn't upset at the looks that they were getting. But then in hindsight, you're right. You don't bring this man here to facilitate down the stretch. That's just not how it works.
No, and not only that, you don't bring KD. And look, KD missed his first 5 shots, right? So then he was like, you know what, I'm going to facilitate, I'm going to pass off. He didn't force the game. And then you realize he barely missed as the rest of the game went on, and he ended up with just 15 shots. So that means he went 7 for 10 in his last 10 shots. I need more than that, especially on a team with limited depth. You know what I mean? You're going 7 deep, maybe. Torrey Craig, bless him, 22 points. They gonna live with that. They gonna live with Ayton. And Monica, I'm gonna need Chris Paul to actually show up to the playoffs. I'm gonna need him. I'm gonna need him to appear.
So this is gonna be interesting to watch this unfold. I gotta say, as we get into this though, Devin Booker, and they lost the game, so he will not get the praise that he deserved. But that man looked like he was trying to be an all-defensive team.
Yes, that was the best defensive game I've ever seen him play, ever.
I am saying, he was terrific. And so I think the ideas have been bounced around on sports talk, whether KD is trying to make sure Book is good. I don't actually think that's an issue, right? I don't think that's an issue at all. There's a reason that they teamed up. I just think the ball got rolling for the Clippers, and then they were so confident on both sides of the ball. I didn't like Devin's last attack against Russ. Granted, Russ made a hell of a play, but also Book, come on. You can't drive left with your left hand all hung out the way and look for a foul. If you're going to do anything, you got to give me a slide, shoulder. You got to create some contact. What are you doing? I just thought down the stretch, I didn't like the constitution that Phoenix played with, especially in contrast to the Clippers. Kawhi don't say nothing. Russ has got your energy, but they are executing like marksmen.
Monica, I tell you, I was sitting next to Brian Windhorst and a couple other, I think Logan Murdoch from The Ringer. And we were sitting there during the game, not going into inside baseball, but we were cracking jokes. When Russ was missing short, he was missing long. He missed every way you could have missed except close. It wasn't no real miles or dang, he almost got it.
No soft misses.
He was missing. It wasn't going to be nothing bouncing off the rim and coming back in. And the way the coaches say, shoot it soft so it can get a chance to get back in. Put some arc on it. Wasn't none of that, right? Monica, I'm sitting there Ty got to take him out. He was missing entry passes on set plays. I'm like, you can't let this guy beat you on your own team. Monica, I'm of the belief that more playoff games are lost than won. You know what I mean? By teams that beat themselves. And I thought that Ty Lue, bless him, best coach in the league, in my opinion, best coach in the league. I thought Ty Lue was going to let Russell Westbrook steal the chance of them stealing the game. And I'll be damned. I had to say, shut up, Vinny. With that block, look, he recovered all the loose balls. He didn't recover his own misses. He recovered everybody else's misses. We thought, Russ, was that a pass? We looked up, no, he's supposed to be 3 for 19. No. They caught that as a pass. No, that was an air ball. Monica, I don't get past the point that Ty Lue is a freaking wizard and he's got more confidence in these dudes than I could ever imagine. Maybe he just didn't have a choice.
Well, I think he's got choice. I think Terrence Mann is due for a big game in this series. I love Terrence Mann to death. I think I don't know Russ personally. I have come to his defense more times than not when his name comes up on television because I just think he gets a bad rap. But I think what is unique, and maybe we'll look back years from now on the 30 for 30 or the conversation about whatever the Clippers do this season or just beyond, as I don't care how good you are, how many awards you've won, but when you got somebody that believes in you, it matters. It matters, right? And I think we could see the friction in the other LA locker room down the stretch, right? I wasn't as close. I was kind of leaving DC when he got to DC, but there was initially at least that joy in terms of what he would bring professionally, right? And those younger guys seem to glean from his 100 miles per hour pace all the time in terms of how hard they could work. I obviously love referencing what Vic Oladipo has said about his time alongside Russ in terms of changing his game as a professional athlete. But I think to see Russ in a situation where Ty believes in him, and I'm not taking you out because I don't believe in you. I'm taking you out because of basketball. This is not personal. Right now, you're not getting it done. But I need you to stay ready because we are going to need you. And that's exactly what happened, right? And so, yes, Russ made 3 huge plays, 3 extra possessions down the stretch. But, like, that also is Russ. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe the juxtaposition of him being benched for a stretch in that third quarter leading into the fourth and then coming in and making those plays is what is kind of stark. But at the same time, like, this is the same dude y'all was trying to kill. He's always been able to do that.
Monica, my friend Miles Brown. I'm not sure you met Miles Brown, but if you ever meet Miles Brown, I'll introduce you to him because it's hard to explain him, but I'll introduce you to him one day. Okay. He came up with the greatest analogy for Russ. He tweeted maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He said Russ is like the most loyal dog, like literally the most loyal dog you will ever have in your life. And he'll also shit on your couch. That is Russell Westbrook. All it like that encapsulates him. He's everything you want, and then he'll do something like that. And you take the good with the bad. And it's funny, because Monica, I want you to personalize this before we move on to the next series. You've gone through a lot in your early career. People see you and they think, oh, Monica got here. No, Monica grinded to get here. And you said something that was really poignant last night when Russell Westbrook alluded to, and I didn't get a chance to ask him the question because they were rushing him out, but he basically alluded to saying, having someone that believes in you. Now, tell me from your own personal experience, how much confidence that gives you when you know that not everybody is riding with you and you're on your own path. And Monica, you've had your own path, your own unique style. Tell me from your own personal experience what that's like to have somebody that believes in you.
That's a game changer. And I think, right, to have someone believe in you, but be astute, in Russ's case in the game of basketball, for me, in the pursuit of this journalism thing, they have to go hand in hand. Because you don't want irrational confidence from people that got your back and have the opportunity to make you be better. Because I also need you to call out my nonsense, right? And so Russ also needs Ty to say, hey, not right now, right? I need someone to say, hey, that was good, but you need to work on this area, right? But when you've got the folks that believe in you and you understand the game or understand the path that you're pursuing, you're able to blend those two together in a way that allows you to take the hits and the criticism because you know that they're going to come, but maturely evaluate what can I take from this criticism and the people that are in my corner and how can I continue to be better, right? So I'm sure yesterday the conversation was, all right now I'm not getting it done. Screw offense completely. What you're not going to take away from me is what I can do defensively. And for me, okay, so I don't present in what y'all have seen or accepted traditionally, fine. Forget all that. I'm going to just do basketball the way that I've done basketball. And you can't tell me that, you can disagree. You can't tell me I don't have a solid argument because I prepared, right? And so that's huge. Like, just having somebody that's like, yo, keep going, because it's not easy. Whatever it is, anything that you're pursuing. And if it's easy, it's probably not worth the pursuit, right? And so that vote of confidence means the world. It's not that we don't have friction. It's not that I don't need to be called out. It's not that I don't have to be benched, right? It's just, hey, this is all a part of the process in the pursuit of a larger goal.
It's funny. That is the preacher, Monica McNutt, y'all. That was pastor Monica McNutt. I just set her up. I knew she was gonna knock that all out. And Monica, you did not let me down. You are the friend that I knew you would be, right? Now, speaking of friends that you need to have.
Okay. Yeah.
LeBron having a friend like Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura, right?
Oh, man.
I have never in my life seen LeBron in the fourth quarter of a game not only take himself off the ball, but turn himself into a floor spacer guy, right? He turned himself into, he hit that 1-3 where Dylan Brooks, for whatever reason, did not stay attached. And that was almost kind of like the dam sort of breaking for Memphis and the Lakers going on. And you got Austin Reaves doing the greatest NBA sound clip of the year.
Took me out.
Him. Monica, they came back from that so quick. Do you realize, Monica, you know all the stuff the league has to go through to approve such things? When they heard that, look, the ghost of David Stern was like, put that on ABC right now. I'm him. What are we looking at with the Lakers right now? Rui's game is Rui's game, but what are we looking at right now with the Lakers?
Just as a basketball person, to be fair, I have always loved Rui Hachimura's game. And the Wizards, there's a lot of issues with the Wizards. Yeah. But even before that, like coming out of Gonzaga, I was like, that kid is a star in his role in wherever he lands, right? I don't think he's dropping 30 again in this series, but, not necessarily relying on him to do that. Austin Reaves, though, is really interesting because I've had one for sure. I might have had 2 Lakers games at this point in the season. One of them was before Russ actually got traded, right? So I'm trying to get my little extra stuff to do my sideline reporting thing. And I was talking to Austin post-game, and Russ walks out, and he's like, tell him about you, Reaves. Tell him about you. Like, they don't know. Like, and so internally, and maybe Lakers Nation that's close up, they've been about Austin Reaves. Like, there's no question about what this guy is capable of and his role on that squad. And so on the bigger stage of the playoffs, now the whole country gets to take it in and see that it's legit. But, like, I won't say that I was surprised by his performance. I was more surprised by the Grizzlies' decision to keep going under the screen and let that man go on a personal, 7-0 run in the fourth quarter. But what's his face? Head coach Darvin calls him a daredevil, right? Mm-hmm. And so yesterday was like the smartest basketball version of a daredevil that I think you can get. And so, look, I think a lot of like Caruso, like these white boys that emerge alongside of LeBron and ultimately get paid probably, but are willing to do the gritty stuff. And it's not glamorous. But I think to me, the more surprising outcome yesterday definitely was Rui's production.
Well, we had the obligatory LeBron cap when he said, I knew he wasn't going to be a two-way player for long. He had that one saved in drafts, baby. He had that one out there like, this is the night Kobe's going to score 80. Whenever y'all see that picture of LeBron with that Nike tracksuit on Twitter, that means people don't believe whoever is saying whatever, right? No shade to LeBron. We just knew that was coming. LeBron was not going to waste an opportunity to tell people that the GM or the coach was on the trail, right? Monica.
I don't know about the two-way part. That is interesting when he said that. But, I mean, if you look at what he's done, of course, the regular season, the kid been working.
Oh, look, that kid has earned himself some money. Now, I make fun of Sports Illustrated when they said that Austin Reaves is unstoppable. I understood the headline. I thought it was a little bit much. But, Monica, as we turn this to the Memphis Grizzlies, I speak from experience as someone who broke his hand playing basketball, falling, not from as high, but falling into my basketball career. I didn't have, you could have breakups, you could have, nothing hurt me the way that hurt me when the doctor said, hey, it's it. This is it for you, champ. When I saw Ja Morant fall, I was like, "Oh, he's done." I've seen that look and that pain before. He's done.
I am not going to skip over the slight acknowledgement that you're kind of heartless in this, but it's fine.
I am not. What do you mean, heartless, Monica McNutt?
We'll have to discuss that on another pod. We're going to stick to basketball on this one.
The Love Doctor edition of the Good Word. We'll talk about that. We'll bring that in later, y'all.
Right. Anytime a guy is hollering running off the court, it's bad news bears. I got to say, and I have been one, again, I think my approach as a media member is a little bit of a player apologist, which I'm not sorry for. I think these guys work their butt off and they catch all kind of heat. I don't really have many issues with Memphis outside of maturity.
Yeah.
The play he got hurt on, I hated. I thought it was a bad decision. I know that high-flying attacks are a part of his game, but that one in particular, and of course now, hindsight's 2020, he gets hurt on it. I'm like, John, what are you doing? Why? Right?
It was a high risk. There was low advantage
Very
to
low.
whatever was going to come to that. I don't know what the hell he was doing, even if he didn't land that way.
Hello? though? Like, I mean, AD at this point have been playing a very solid game, have been a
Yes.
force in the paint. Like, I get you. Maybe this was the motivation moment. You was about to get everybody going. Ultimately, come on, dude. Like, no. I certainly hope the series is long enough that he could come back from it in some capacity, but it's his right hand, and that is a big time problem. I wasn't willing to count Memphis out in this series going into this one because I think they've got more depth, and if they could play maturely, I thought they had a chance. But the Lakers look really good. Like, and I'm not feeling good about this the rest of the way if you're the Grizzlies.
Well, for me, I felt like Memphis had a door that was open, even if they lost the game, which they were going to do anyway. I saw like some slight slippage in LeBron. I've been seeing it for the past few weeks since he's come back. The turnovers, it's almost like he's looking things off, but he's not looking them off. And in the playoffs, you can't have that lack of concentration. I want to say panic. It's not a panic, but there's more uncharacteristic turnovers from LeBron and Anthony Davis. We just got to see him be healthy for 2 months at a time. And poor Stephen A. at halftime, he was despondent. He was like, I can't believe this has happened. I'm looking at like, this is a stinger. Like, I don't think his shoulder gets separated.
I was like, it's a stinger. Calm down, everybody.
Yeah. I was thinking, I wasn't there, but I'm just looking. I'm like, that's a stinger. You didn't see anything pop. This wasn't like Kevin Love in 2015 when, his arm got yanked. Like, it wasn't that thing. But that shows you, A, how much we all are dependent on this Lakers business, right? Like, we are in the business of the Lakers. And secondly, we are in the star business. But Monica, I saw Jaren Jackson Jr. yesterday do work on Anthony Davis and LeBron. Win or lose in this series, does he change the trajectory of what this franchise is going to be long term? I know short term it's going to be some pain, but I feel like if he develops in the way that we think, he's about to be defensive player of the year and everything else, but if he turns that offensive game into what it looks like, they might be real problems real soon.
Okay, so this will be my question as we dig into this one. Is he going to develop? We're talking about him developing enough that he shifts to what in terms of the hierarchy of the Memphis offense?
He's not going to supersede Ja, right?
Okay, right.
But does this lessen the dependency? Does this lessen the high-flying plays on Ja? Because Ja can jump in the air and be under control. That's why I thought that play was really uncharacteristic, because he's done things where he hung in the air and then dished it off at the last second, but looked really under control, was going to land on 2 feet. I think as opposed to it being like a 60-40 offense, if this slides to a, hey, we're going to get Jaren Jackson out here to 17, 18 shots a game, I think that changes the ceiling on this team long term. Because I don't know how far you can go if Ja Morant is your best player playing like that. Like, we've seen Allen Iverson, we've seen Russell Westbrook. The only like little dudes we've seen lead their teams to titles, Isaiah Thomas and Steph Curry. I don't know if Ja Morant's going to be that next guy. So that's why I'm wondering if Jaren Jackson Jr. tilts that a little bit.
Well, I think there's the potential for him to tilt it. And maybe this is a slightly different conversation if this team is healthy. He's got to get more help on the backside, though. Yeah. Right? So maybe if Steven Adams is available, if Brandon Clark is available, he's able to do a little bit more offensively just because of the pure exertion of energy. Like, he played a great game defensively yesterday. He didn't get into foul trouble. Like, when he picked up his first foul, I was like, oh, God, what is that? And they were like, it's one. I was like, oh, great. Like, he's rolling. I do think that there's upside there. I would be curious in terms of the development. He's going to have to become a better ball handler so he can work off the pick and roll, like, in space.
Yeah.
But if he starts to add that, I'm with you. Like, if he's adding
he has an awkward handle. Is that what unorthodox sort of handle, right?
Right. So because I don't know. I mean, Ja also could stand to obviously develop a better shot from distance. But if you're putting Jaren in a pick and roll potentially with Desmond Bane, right? And you're making a defender choose, we've already seen that Jaren can knock down a three. Again, a little funky on the release, but it finds the bottom of the net.
Right.
But if he's really making you decide because his handle is tight, and I'm not even saying he's got to be Ja handle, but if I got a 2-dribble pull up, I got a 1-dribble pull up, I can get to the rim and shift Euro step finish, like, yeah, I think that definitely would.
So, y'all, I was only asking her about Memphis and Jaren Jackson Jr. to set up for what's coming next. Jaren Jackson he's tough on the boards, big dude, strong dude. That is a tough grown man series. We are about to talk about the most grown of grown men series in the first round, at least under the glass. We're going to talk about Orange and Blue Skies and Monica's New York Knicks when we come back. We are back on Good Word with Monica McNutt. Monica, you are wearing a resplendent orange scarf and a navy blue shirt. That wouldn't be a tribute to the New York Knicks, would it?
You know, I finished my kettlebell workout this morning, washed my hair, I put on my favorite little orange wrap, and I said, I should find some Knicks blue. This shirt is not quite that, but I was halfway there with the orange. I will take it.
See, there you go. Now, shameless plug here on the other podcast on the Ball Don't Lie Network, No Cap Room. Our guy Dan Devine talked about the Cavs being a weak defensive rebounding team, and the Cavs being a weak defensive rebounding team, and the Knicks being a strong offensive rebounding team. Donovan Mitchell scores damn near 40, and the Cavs can't break 100. Monica, I picked the Cavs to win this series on the strength of Evan Mobley, Jared Allen being underneath the basket, being strong with the ball. They got bullied in game one. Did you see that coming?
I felt like Julius was going to be hugely important, right? There was a whole scuttlebutt whether or not he would play based on him being a guy that doesn't miss games. Just who he is as a player, his relationship with Tibbs, the way Tibbs rolls as a coach. I always felt like he was going to play. And then for me, game one was going to be heavily predicated on what he looked like. Did he come out pressing? Did he come out poised? And I thought in this game he was poised. I was very concerned. We've seen at times over the season, he struggles with defenders that are long and athletic.
Yep.
Insert the Twin Towers, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. So I wasn't sure what that was going to look like. But man, he just big-bodied them. Like, nah, y'all too small. And I think we'll talk a lot about Julius, Jalen, but Josh Hart has changed the complexion of this Knicks squad. And so they've been a great road team. I picked them to take this thing in 7. I have said and will continue to say, if it goes 7 and we got to roll that ball out and it's Jalen Brunson versus Donovan Mitchell, I'm completely confident rolling with Jalen Brunson.
I never thought there would be a world in which I would agree with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
My concern with the Knicks going into this series was 2 things. You didn't have a player who makes defenses uncomfortable with his sheer athleticism. Like drawing to and then the swing. Like everything Julius does is almost with a hand in his face or bully ball. Jalen Brunson makes a lot of contested shots in the regular season. You don't know how that translates in the postseason. He made a lot of contested shots that weren't bad shots. They weren't lucky shots. They looked like shots that he knew that he was going to make. And Julius Randle didn't have a good game. And, I do think that Evan Mobley, first playoff game, he's missing a lot of stuff short at the rim. I won't say jitters, but there's an acclimation to the playoffs that you have to, get to. But you brought up Josh Hart. It lessens the dependency on a RJ Barrett. And it just adds another rough and rugged defender for the Knicks. Just talk to me about how he, like you said, he changed the complexion of this Knicks team. Talk about that a little bit more.
Well, I think before Josh, okay, so there was there's 3 parts of the Knicks season in my mind. Early in the season where they were getting nothing from their bench. And we were literally like, Jalen's a great acquisition. He's blowing our mind. He's better than we thought. But can he keep this up at this level? Then right after that embarrassing Dallas loss, you sort of saw the team wake up and you started to get more out of your bench. That kind of happens and then Mitch goes down. So Tibbs is forced to go to his bench. So Isaiah Hartenstein emerges. Quick starts to turn it on another level. His shooting splits aren't as stark home versus on the road. Quentin Grimes starts to turn it up a little bit in terms of productivity. And so you're starting to see this bench mob emerge, right? Then you get to sort of the trade deadline and Josh comes. Josh know nothing about New York. Like, he's an NBA player. He followed basketball. But no affinity to this place. Like, nothing more than being here in the Big East. But embraced this place off the break. Like, was giddy about being a New York Knick. Not just teaming up with his teammate and Jalen Brunson, but, this opportunity. And so he has carried the pride of that jersey like he's been here since he was drafted. And then you can't necessarily quantify some of the things he does. His first game with the Knicks, he erupted. I don't think he was shy of 30, but it was a big-time offensive performance for him. And I remember asking him, like, is this common for you? He said his first couple of games in Portland when he got traded were big offensive performances as well. But he hangs his hat so much on the defensive side of basketball and doing the things that you can't necessarily see in a box score. And so I think his tenacity, his competitiveness, you'll see him chirping at guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, he has kind of raised the level in terms of the expectation of getting a stop when you need to, point blank, period, right? And so I just think that is something, he's just brought a level of maturity to this team, like a doggedness nature to his game. And then you combine that with Jalen, who is very mindful about when he talks and when he yells at his teammates, because he doesn't want to have an empty voice. But you kind of got Josh, who can say whatever he got to say, and nobody's going to say anything because he's going to do it. Like, it's not just talk. He's going to do whatever's required as well. So they've had to work through some personality stuff, but I think to this point in this season, their identity is so solidified in terms of offensive rebounds, second chance opportunities. They're going to defend, and they just have so much trust with Jalen down the stretch.
It's funny. Playoff basketball is usually about who gets the most possessions, who can make stops, who can control the glass. And the thing about Josh Hart, I don't know if Josh Hart can fight, but Josh Hart strikes me as the type of dude that will look you in your face and tell you, I will fight you. And usually after that, because most dudes will, believe it or not, NBA dudes don't want to fight, but they will fight behind closed doors. But if someone looks you in your face in the locker room and says, bruh, I will fight you. What that was like, Monica? That was like that Martin episode where Martin told Gina, you schemed, you've plotted, and clink, clink, I will marry you. That's like Josh said, now? I will fight you. Are you happy now? And everybody else fell in line and was like, he's one of us because he's a crazy person.
Yeah. And only crazy when he needs to be. But, like, I'm really proud of these guys. Like, I remember having this conversation with a bunch of Knicks fans preseasons. You looked at the gauntlet of the East and the moves that folks have made. And I was like, y'all, like, if they're a 7 or 8, they get into play-in, like, that'll be a good year based on what we've seen in the West, right? Yep. So in my mind, they have completely overachieved. I understand that Jalen Brunson is in the running for most improved. I don't feel like that is the right title for what he's been able to do.
Right,
I think maybe most unlocked. Like, I think it was there, but he no longer is running alongside Luka, right? But I definitely hope he picks up some hardware because he deserves it. He should have been an all-star, frankly.
He should have. And I think my most improved ballot was, I think Larry Marketing was 1, Shea was 2. I forgot who was 3. But it wasn't a Knick, which means Knick fans will be angry because Knick fans are always mad about something. And coming from someone who lived in New York for a short period of time, only people that put it like this, Boston fans look at Knicks fans and be like, y'all need to lighten up.
Well, they also have a title this decade, so relax, Boston.
That's true.
Or not decade, this score, 25 years? When they win? Was that 10 years ago? They got to the finals last year, so let's just go with that.
That's true. So on the Cleveland side, Monica, Donovan had 38. But it didn't, and it was in the flow of the offense, but it didn't seem like he had like this great rhythm. It's clear that they're like, we're going to load up on Donovan and Darius Garland, and who's ever in that 3 spot, have all the open shots you want. And someone's either going to have to turn it to a cutter or put another spacer on the floor that can actually shoot, but then you wind up losing defensively because Garland and Mitchell are so slight. It's almost like the Knicks created a disadvantage in the way that they play because of what they're doing to the Cavs on offense, that you're springing the leak when you're plugging another one, and that might wind up actually leading to the Knicks' advantage one way or the other.
Yeah, but I think, to your point, the thing that concerns you about the Knicks is also a hole for the Cavs, right? Like, neither one of these teams have NBA prototype 3.
That's true.
I think it's revealing itself a bigger issue for the Cavs in this series because they lack size elsewhere. But the strengths and the weaknesses just collide in this matchup. Like, y'all can't defensive rebound. Oh, the Knicks can't offensive rebound. Like, this series literally to me could come down to rebounding. Like, I think we're going to get great numbers from Donovan, Jalen, everybody that is sort of the name and the marquee for each team respectively. I think Darius Garland is poised for a better game. But you look at like Osman Okoro, LeVert, one of them is going to have to erupt. And if they do, like, can you get more than one game like that? You know what I mean? On the flip side, you can say the same thing for the Knicks. Like, RJ, we're going to need a solid game at some point in this series, right? Or Quentin Grimes is going to have to go off, whatever that looks like. And so I just think, for me, literally, the rebounding thing is so glaring. And the Cavs are obviously one of the slower pace teams in the league. The Knicks don't blow you away in terms of pace, but this group is far more willing to get up and down the floor. And I think they've come to understand they're going to have to be judicious with Julius, because to your point of draw two, make the pass, Julius is that guy in Tibbs' mind, which is fine. But as the Cavs make their adjustments, I think it's going to get a little bit more difficult as Mobley wakes up. He's got his first playoff game out the way. Jared Allen becomes a little bit more engaged. Like, those are long defenders that Julius does struggle with. So y'all need to get down the floor before the Cavs can set whatever they're going to do defensively, because the nature of a series is just going to be a lot if they wear out Jalen and Julius early.
No, it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. Monica, you work for MSG. You can do the we. It's all good. It's all good. We can do the we.
Look, technically, we're not even supposed to do the we on our network, so my bad. But go ahead. I'm curious. I'm excited.
Look, I think Evan Mobley is going to be the closest thing we've seen to Tim Duncan, or a new age Tim Duncan. I think that highly of him. Now, he's in his second year.
That's high, Benny.
That I know. I'm tripping, right? I think he should have been the number one pick a couple years ago. I look at his game and I see Tim Duncan. Now, Tim Duncan would have been in his junior year at Wake Forest at this point. So when I say that, people are like, man, Tim Duncan came into the league 21-12. Absolutely. But at this stage, Tim Duncan was still a junior in college right now. So I think Evan Mobley, he missed a lot of stuff on the short roll. Like, I think, I won't say the length bothered him. I think maybe the lower body stuff, like getting bumped and no calls. Sure. You know what I mean? He's still very young. You got to build your body up and everything else. I think he and Donovan Mitchell are going to steal the game at the Garden in 3 or 4 and even this thing up. And you're going to have a 3-game series on the back end. But I don't think the Knicks will be afraid to win another game in Cleveland. Once you steal the opener, that tilts the math for everything, and it tilts the confidence. I think the Knicks have that.
Yeah. Oh, they're absolutely playing with confidence. I can't.
You don't think Donovan can steal a game in that building?
Yeah. No, 100%. But now you got me thinking about how I think it's going to play out, and are they going to come to this building with a win from home? I'm not 100% sure. Right? Like, I think if you listen to the post-game sound, Darius talking about, we got to punch first in the physicality. Like, when you start really thinking about that too much, it becomes a little bit of a head game. Now what you think is punching first is a charge, bro. You in foul trouble. You know what I mean? Like, if the Cavs have to shift to meet the physicality of the Knicks, that's a problem. The Knicks have been physical all season. So now, like,
the Cavs have to be who they are. Like, they just have to be better at who they are.
They got to be better at who they are. I think, obviously, Darius has to be better. Whoever the 3 is that's on the floor is going to have to be able to knock down some shots, a la Rui Hachimura, right? Because Garland's going to be better. Donovan is going to do his thing. But if they're wrapped up mentally and trying to match the Knicks' physicality, that's bad news bears.
Yeah, no, it's not. You can't be them. You have to be you. And speaking of quote unquote being you, Monica, where were you this weekend?
Oh, I was in
Philly. Monica was in Philly with a dress that was, let's say, it was green, it was blue.
It was a set. It was a pants set. It was really cute. It was green and blue.
There we go. It was a lot.
Shout out to James. He gave me a compliment in the post game. Thank you, bro. And he gave me a good interview, more importantly. So, yeah.
There we go. Monica was on the car, so she couldn't even see the Knicks live. Like, she had to go to Philly.
No, I made it home for that. No, I made it home for the Knicks. I didn't see Celtics Hawks. I was listening to that on the radio on the way home, but I made it home for Knicks.
Yeah, you didn't miss a whole lot with Celtics Hawks. No, not at all. I don't even know if we're gonna have time to get to them, but because it's not a whole lot of drama there. But with Philly and Brooklyn, it wasn't supposed to be a whole lot of drama there either. But just long term, because I think Philly's going to get out of this series. I'm very curious if the dependency of getting Joel Embiid the MVP, right? They went and made a run, and Joel, basically went out and took the MVP. I don't know how the voting is going to come out and everything else, but I feel like we're all pretty clear that Embiid is going to win the MVP whenever it's announced. I think it's going to be announced not this week, but maybe next week. Okay. What did you see from spreading the ball out, from Tobias Harris, who I think has to get a certain amount of shots, Tyrese Maxey, James Harden. On paper, it seems like, Monica, they have all the offensive weapons. On the other hand, it still seems like something is missing, and you can't figure out exactly what it is. Is it the trust in James Harden that we're not quite giving him because we've seen his made movies?
Yeah, because literally, and I'm not even trying to be funny because I was there, but like, they played perfect. So if we still have an issue, like, it's just the trust. And to be fair, in Philly, listening to the local podcast, reading the local writers, that is very much the thing, right? There's still this cautious optimism around playoff experience of past.
It's old relationship it's new relationship that feels like old relationship. Man, she smells like this other woman. That's what it is. Monica,
you remind me of a girl?
You remind me. And at the end of that song, he said, all the things she put me through. That's what it feels like with Philly. All the things that she put me through, except the first she is the second she, and nothing has really changed.
Through 3 quarters, they have 5 turnovers. They finished the game with 9, right? Like, and a lot of that, you probably chop up the garbage time. They got 32 points out of their bench. Joel didn't even have to overexert himself. Bro, I'm doing the first quarter interview with Jacques, who is great. I love Jacques Vaughn. I think he's really enjoying coaching this group. While they are sort of the band of misfits and NBA prototypes, Mikal Bridges has arrived.
Right.
Like,
yes.
100%. Yes. And Jacques was basically like, I'm like, Jacques, they're literally shooting 6 of 7 off of shots every time you double Joel Embiid. And they're 3 of 3 from 3. What you gonna do, boss? And he's like, well, we just want them thinking. We'll mix up the coverages as things go. But, like, Philly executed to a T. Like, to a T. They had a great ball game, both defensively and offensively, in my mind. And I think the thing that sits with me is what James said to me in the final question of the post-game interview. I was like, what's the single most important thing? Because obviously, if you could duplicate this type of performance, y'all probably in good shape. He's like, we got to stay even kill. And I think that is for that team. That is for the city of Philly. That is for Doc Rivers. Like, it's going to be a ride, right? And every game is not going to be as great as that game is. But I think more than we've seen in the past, they're healthy. They've played good ball down the stretch. They didn't limp into the playoffs. Joel probably finally gets his MVP. Like, there are less excuses in my mind when you look at this group. And you take who you get in the first round, and then you double down and get ready for what's going to be a hell of a second round.
Well, if there's anything that we've learned from the first day and a half of the postseason is, man, the matchups don't matter if you don't got your players.
100%.
Ja Morant goes down. You look across the way, Milwaukee. Giannis goes down. Now, Giannis has been taking nicks and bruises all year. That's honestly the one reason I didn't vote for him for MVP, was just because of the number of games played, just the precedent that I didn't want to create, even though I think Giannis is the best player in the game. You look over there with the Miami Heat. That's not a typical 8 seed. That's not a typical, hey, we just going to be happy to get a game and we're going to go home and we're going to lick our wounds. Giannis being out, I know the Bucks missed a lot of open threes. The Heat made a lot of them. I would assume that Giannis will be back for game 2. But I think Milwaukee might find themselves in a dog fight with Miami because now they are confident. And Jimmy Butler looks like Jimmy Butler from whenever postseason that Jimmy Butler does what he does. And
last year.
Look, last year, the bubble, Philly, Chicago, we have seen Jimmy Butler's movies, and he looks like he is ready to be a star again. And make like Monica, is Milwaukee in trouble here?
Is Milwaukee in trouble? No, because Tyler Hero's down. If Tyler Hero was healthy, I might be like, like that meme where the girl's like tasting something, then maybe actually do like it. I don't think Milwaukee's in trouble whether Giannis plays this series or not. Miami, I love Miami. I love Jimmy Butler. Eric Spoelstra, right? Not Spoelstra.
Yeah.
Spoelstra. I'm sorry, I messed up his name. Is one of the best to do it. I admire Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Jamal, I'm blanking on his last name. Like, I admire those guys so much. But at a point, the culture has squeezed all the juice that they can squeeze. And you're going to have to go get some bona fide NBA players.
You can have but so many Gabe Vincents and Max Struses on your team.
And I love both of those guys. I take nothing away from their journey. And they are bona fide NBA players at this point. But to me, I'm not too old to forget how ridiculous they looked against the Atlanta Hawks, same team.
A week ago at the crib.
Right? And so if anything, embarrassing a week ago, got to go through the play-in, you come into game one juiced up, you could argue that the Bucks maybe have had time to chill. But now when I start digging into these rosters, oh nah. Like the Bucks, even without Giannis in my mind, have a depth of bona fide NBA players that you trust, and y'all down Tyler Hero. Baby, if Duncan Robinson is on the floor, it is not a good thing.
That's 80 million Duncan Robinson to you, Monica McNutt.
That's nice, but when it comes to the basketball of it all, it is not a good thing.
No, it's Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and a who's who of who? Don't forget that.
100%.
Look, you got Kyle Lowry, who may have given you the last great Kyle Lowry game of his career.
Right. Like, and listen, and I take nothing away from any of those guys, but I think the reality is the Bucks have done it. The Bucks are deeper. They've been able to develop their guys. I think both organizations have developed their guys, but I think there is an expectation, maybe because of their overall experience when you look at the Milwaukee Bucks. So I think even without Giannis, if we were to go through starting fives, or even if we just went top threes, like it is not an overwhelming sway in the favor of Miami.
No, this is what I normally do during the playoff series. I do pick up playground style. You put your 5 over there, I put my 5 over there, and we just scramble them. How many Heat players will you pick in that first 10 compared to how many Bucks players? And you wind up saying, okay, you got Jimmy, you got Bam.
Yeah.
And then you'll go Middleton, Lopez, Drew, Bobby Portis. Like you wind up going down a list before you get another Miami Heat. And even if I think Spoelstra can coach circles around Bud, because Bud's thing is, why change when we can just do what we do? I still think Milwaukee should be in good enough shape, even if Giannis is 75, 80% of himself. Like maybe they wind up holding him at some point because they feel like we should be able to win a first round series in this situation. And if we can't, then we don't need to be playing right now. But I think I have more questions long term about Milwaukee because Milwaukee, Monica, was a team that I said was going to win the title.
So I'm with you. The long term is concerning because they got to be healthy to roll through Philly and Boston will see one another, but they do need to be healthy the rest of the way.
Well, so we are coming up on it, Monica. So I'm gonna give you the floor because we had a lot of injuries. We had Russ yelling at the crowd where he shouldn't have been at. Like we've had a bunch of different things in the first weekend of the NBA playoffs, and we ain't even talked about Light the Beam. We ain't even talked about the champs.
I must say,
against the Kings.
Okay, before we go that, I wish that we were not all up in the video on the Light the Beam thing.
You think there needs to be an underground, there needs to be a basement thing?
It doesn't need to be a basement thing, but give the mic to the in-arena cat or whoever's been doing it all season for the Kings. Like, it just felt real cheap. And I don't know whose decision that was, but I was like, why are we doing this? That ruins the whole thing. Like, let them have their moment. Like, put their mic on our air, but like, don't make it the post game. I didn't like that.
It was a bit much. But I understood the decision why to do, because you want to, you've been talking about it for 3 or 4 months since we realized that the Kings were going to be here and they weren't just going to falter. I could see why they wanted to do it. But Monica, we got the champs. We've got the Kings. De'Aaron Fox looks like Derrick Rose in 2009. Like
ooh, what a comp! Yes.
See what I'm saying? He looked ready. I don't think the Warriors are going to lose this series, but I think they have to win this series. The Kings ain't gonna give it to them, is what I'm saying. They're gonna have to come out and win the series. And I think there were some things that Steve Kerr could have done better. Like I feel like they fell way too in love in the fourth quarter with the 3-point shot. Klay Thompson, take the damn layup, as opposed to kicking it to Wiggins in the corner. Take the layup. You're down 1. Take the layup. But I felt like I saw so much good things from the Kings, starting with De'Aaron Fox, because Sabonis did not have a game. He's going to have a game, but they have no answer for De'Aaron Fox right now.
So here's what I found myself, and I think we would have been on the same page. I did not necessarily pick the Kings, but to everybody that was like, "Oh, bet like that's the matchup the Warriors won," I was like, I don't think this is as easy as y'all think it's going to be, right? And so last night, we finished watching the game, and I'm just kind of thinking about the playoffs in general, right? Again, go back to that switch analogy. To me, the Kings know who they are, right? Like, and yeah, they're inexperienced, but so what? Like, they're still one of the best offenses in the team in the league.
Yep.
De'Aaron Fox is one of the most clutch guys in the league. And there's nothing that they need to put together per se, as opposed to the Warriors, who have admitted that they got to do whatever they got to do the playoff thing. And I just don't think, at some point, I know we are reluctant to acknowledge the changing of the guard, and this playoffs is unique in that your brand name guys are at the bottom and you still believe in them. But at some point, the reality of the mileage on Steph, Clay, and Draymond, like that is going to matter in my mind. And even Andrew Wiggins, who I thought played well considering that's his first game back, I'm not willing necessarily to put it all at his lap.
No, my thought was he played as well as one could expect a player who has not played in 3 months to play.
Right.
You throw a player in the preseason, Monica, who hasn't played in 3 or 4 months, and let alone regular season, let alone high intensity regular season, let alone playoff basketball. Those are like completely different levels that we're talking about here. So I do think there is some variance in how he's going to perform. I think Clay taking a lot of shots off the dribble. I think Steve Kerr's got to have to tell him, stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to. You know what I mean? Like, because I think the boxing one defense kind of threw Golden State's rhythm off just a little bit, because Sacramento is not a good defensive team. They're a historically bad defensive team, and Golden State did not take advantage of that real estate. But Monica, as a whole, in the aggregate, I'm with you. You keep aiming for Sacramento, saying that they're the mark, because you don't want to play Phoenix, which I get, because you don't want to play Memphis, which I get. You're looking at them and they don't have anything to lose. Like their whole season has been made by making the playoffs. As long as they don't get swept, they're happy, which means they're going to walk in feeling like, oh, we got ABC on a Saturday night. We got the whole world looking at us. All we got to do is ball. And they balled.
They bought. Now, does Malik Monk probably come back to earth? Yeah. Do the Warriors figure out some adjustments? Do we see more Andrew Wiggins straight up on De'Aaron Fox? Possibly, right? Like, nobody's saying that the Kings are going to sweep in this series, but I just think the idea that this thing was going to be a gentleman's sweep, let alone a sweep, is very disrespectful and honestly short-sighted in terms of who the Warriors have been this particular season. Draymond, Clay, and Steph might have a switch, and if the switch is going to be heavily predicated on three-point shooting, it might be a different chapter in the Warriors' book, because I don't know if that's going to come to fruition in the fourth quarter the way it has in the past. But the rest of them dudes, I think that first championship to me came a little bit easy, and they don't necessarily understand what that switch actually looks like.
Well, look, the crazy thing for me that I thought worked in that championship run, you tell those young guys, sacrifice, right? And the young guys sacrificed, and they won the championship. Then they were like, okay, now it's our time. And they're like, no, you still got to sacrifice for Steph and Clay and Draymond. And then Jordan Poole gets hit in the face because he's about to get his money. Like, that changes everything that you do. I don't care what type of comeback you have. And I don't know if that rears its ugly head in this series, Monica. But I do think that when you ask young players to continuously sacrifice for the old dudes, for the sake of what? We just won. Okay, I got my ring. What am I sacrificing for now? I need to go get mine. I need to go get my generational wealth. You hear about Clay won the max deal. Another max deal, right? You want Draymond saying, you got Draymond either about to opt out and figure everything else out, and he looked phenomenal on defense in game one. You get all these individual agendas on a team that needs to basically band together collectively because they're not as great. Long or the short, Champs got some work to do. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the great Monica McNutt. Monica, I appreciate you for coming on with the good word. On Mondays, this is what we do. On Thursdays, we got No Cap Room with Jake and Dan. Don't forget to rate us and review us on Spotify. We are also on YouTube. We're part of the Ball Don't Lie Network. Enjoy the week of playoff basketball. I'm not getting no sleep, and I know Monica ain't.
Sure ain't. It's going to be great.
Hey, have a good week, everybody. See you next Monday.